Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, El Shai, Ba'ashem, Al Rakar, Kudash, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and Shalom to the whole full elect. This is Paya Allah, and the title of this video was determined upon upload, but I basically got a few precepts and wanted to delve into the topic of life and death, alright? And we know that the Heavenly Father made everything binary, alright? Binary meaning one on one. So, for example, you have light and day, you have hot and cold, and you have good and evil, ultimately being life and death. And life and death is really in this thing called life is what it's all about. You only have life until up until death, and there's things that pertain to this life, alright, that death is waiting for you if you do certain things, where ultimately the judgment or the not the judgment is the right word, but there's a greater word to articulate the point. But the choices you make, the repercussions of your actions could be death. All right, and that's us being, as I mentioned, judgment is because we're under because we're under the sun, which is a place of judgment. All right, so this is where all the judgments of the Heavenly Father play out, and this is the thing, we're in a special case because why? First and foremost, the children of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans as they're known today, due to their scattering and discontinuing of their heritage, they have life presented to them in the covenant that was made between our forefathers, all right, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and only consolidated, you could say, only, manifest through the covenant being established by Moses. Around the book of Exodus 24, he took the blood of the covenant and sprinkled it on the congregation around of the children of Israel, and they atoned that, or they basically acknowledged that it pertained to the children of Israel, and then the ones of the children of Israel that weren't present that day. All right. And in that we have life, all right, because this is our glory, which is having the Heavenly Father, the God of knowledge, so nigh unto us. In that having him by there unto us, we have life. Okay, we understand the correct way to live upon the earth, whereby we'd be prosperous and have many prolonged days upon the earth with blessing. But, as we're gonna, break down, you understand that we fell from grace, all right? And this is just to play into it, man. I could keep going on, but let me just get into the scriptures to get to the point. So this is Deuteronomy 30 and 15. See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil, all right? The two things, the two and two, all right? The Heavenly Father set before us the good and which pertains to life, all right? And the evil which pertains unto death, right? You have a choice, or the what appears to be a choice, all right? And I command thee this day to love the Lord Yahweh thy power, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply. All right. So what? It's lucky on my mind strayed, man. Verse 16 says, "In that I command thee this day to love the Lord Yahweh thy power, to walk in his ways and to keep his commandments." That's how you love the Heavenly Father. On my days I got a mental block. I'm thinking of 1 John 3 and 4 or 5 and 4. And this is love, that we keep his commandments. That's it. So the love of the Heavenly Father is to keep his law, statutes, and commandments. And that's what's being established here by Moses. That's what he's saying. He's saying that, look, walk in the ways of the Heavenly Father to show your love unto him. All right. So it says, that thou mayest live and multiply, and the Lord Yahweh thy power shall bless thee in a land whither thou goest to possess it. Yeah. So being in the land of Israel, it being a place where the Heavenly Father set his feet upon on the earth being his footstool, but that specific place being his footstool. And how do we know this? Because that same place, the Fertile Crescent, from the beginning, all right, the Garden of Eden planted eastward, all right. Eden is the whole earth I done, which means pleasant, all right. But in the whole of the earth, there was one special place that was at the center of that, of Eden, all right, of the earth, which was what? The Garden of Eden eastward, all right, which is where you find the Fertile Crescent, which goes into the land of Ham, being Egypt, and then uh, um, uh, going up towards the Middle East, through the land of Israel, all right, Syria, and then going towards, I believe I'd be right by saying Afghanistan, all right, if my memory serves me correctly. Not Afghanistan, sorry, Iraq, all right. So reading on, but then the point being, the land that we're going to possess is where the Heavenly Father places his feet. So there's a certain way that you have to treat that land. And that's why when you had the Cushites and the various heathen nations were brought in during the time of the expulsion of the Northern Kingdom due to captivity under the Assyrians, all right, what happened? They basically the heathen that was brought into the land got vomited out of the land because they kept their heathenish ways, and they understood that they had to keep the customs of the Heavenly Father. All right, even to this day, all right, these the so-called Jews have moved into there, but that is becoming a burdensome stone because, as the Heavenly Father said, it has a way. There's a way you have to live in it. That's why they have to have things like the kibbutz and various type of and warfare breaking out without end, because that land is a very heavy land. It pertains to a great spirit being upon it. Verse 17, but if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shalt be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land, whether thou passest over Jordan to go possess it. All right. So basically, look, that land is a very special land, but it's being known, it's letting being known. Look, man, if you go into that land, if you don't do the things that pertain unto righteousness, a great hell is waiting upon you. All right, and ultimately, this is, as we're gonna get into, this is what's gonna be manifest. Verse 19, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live, that thou mayest love the Lord Yahweh thy power, and that thou mayest obey his words, and that thou mayest cleave unto him, for he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land which the Lord Yahweh swear unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob, to give them. All right. So I want to go into an example of this, because this manifesting during the time of us going into the land with the covenant being established by way of Moses, that pertained to us through the promises that were given to our forefathers. This is something that played out before in history, all right? Because what you had is what? You basically had the Garden of Eden, as I mentioned before. And basically you had Cain and Abel, all right? Which, actually, let me just read it, because that's what I was going to go to as an example. Whoops. So let's read this. Genesis 1:1 says, and Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord Yahweh. and she again bare his brother Abel. All right. Cain goes back to the Hebrew Kwayan, which means dagger. All right. Or it pertains to a pointed instrument. A conceivable. Sorry, not conceivable. What they call that word? Not conceivable. It's right on the tip of my tongue. That's why I'm saying conceivable, because it's similar to that word. Open carry, conceivable. What the hell is the word, man? I think it is conceit. It's similar. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Salakia, man. Damn, I'm just gonna move on. Lord willing, it comes back to me. Verse 2, and she again bare his brother Abel, which goes back to the Hebrew Habal, which means breath or transitory. All right, due to the length of his life. But let's read. And Abel was a keeper of sheep. All right, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. Now these same men pertain to what? Pertain to Jacob and Esau, all right? Jacob and Esau, which is Israel and the Edomites, all right? Israel and Edom. Why did I say that? Because it says Abel was a keeper of a sheep. He was a shepherd, all right? Which when you go into when we was in Egypt, what were we? Shepherds. That's why he had a Hyksos, and it was said that the Egyptians disdained that they looked down upon it wasn't a sought after career. Best way I can put it. All right, they looked down upon it. But that's why when you had Joseph present 5 of his brothers unto Pharaoh, all right, or 5 or 6, I believe it was 5 of his brothers unto Pharaoh, he said that they should say that they're shepherds. And what did Pharaoh said? He said, if any one of your brothers are skilled in tending to sheep, let them tend to mine also. All right. So that basically showed that they didn't really mess with that. All right, but that was something that we're well versed in, because that was our spirits had to put time in, had mileage in it. But Cain was a tiller of the ground. All right, so he was a farmer basically. All right, a man of the field. So let's read on verse 3. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord Yahweh. And Abel, he also brought the firstlings of his flock and the fat thereof. And the Lord Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And thou shalt rule over him. All right? So basically, what did Cain do? Kwayan. He knew what he was meant to do. How do we know he knew? Him being the firstborn, aside from that, let me stick to the point. The reason why we know what was done is because the Lord said it unto him very simply. Like, look, if you do as well, you will be accepted. If you do as not well, sin lieth at the door. So he knew better. All right, he knew how to do well. It was presented. It wasn't like, oh, sorry, I should have told you that you do this. No, you knew what you ought to do, but you chose not to do it. All right, and that's why it was said to him, sin lieth at the door. Now reading on. And that's why Abel offered the correct offering, all right, according to what of the law, because the law back then was an oral law, right? And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him, all right? So through the spirit, Abel probably said some words that really cut him to the spirit, all right? But maybe pertaining to an exhortation. I'm really extrapolating. It could be that's how I perceive it. All right, because why? It says rebuke a wise man. Let me quickly look that up. That's it. Proverbs 9 and 8. It says, reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. All right. And obviously, I'm extrapolating it that, Abel said unto Cain, look, you should have offered this, that, the other. If you need a firstling of the flock, I'll give it unto you. I'll set a portion aside for you. Da 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 da. But, and said you shouldn't be doing that. This is what you should do. And the scorner, all right, him being a wicked spirit, having that demonic spirit in him, being a murderer from the beginning, all right, he didn't like that. That's why, what did he say? It says that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. He murdered him. And the Lord Jehovah said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. All right? So did you see the blood like bubbling up and saying, yeah, he killed me? No, you go to Revelation, the 6th chapter. It tells you of the righteous that were, slain, that crieth unto the Lord. All right? Where basically, we have Israel when we die on this side and go and present ourselves before the throne of the Heavenly Father. What do we speak of? We, our brethren, they basically go before the throne and they say, look, Esau you did this. Emmett Till would have done that shit. All right? He would have gone to, all these different people that have been slain unjustly, basically went before the throne and their blood cried unto the Heavenly Father. All right? And it's a metaphor as well. Why? Because it basically pertains to not the book of Numbers and Ezekiel 25, Ezekiel 35. Since thou love blood, blood will pursue thee. All right, blood needed to be cleansed. All right, of the land. So that blood crying is basically saying, look, you need to avenge my blood by making his blood fall upon the ground. Verse 11, and now art thou cursed from, verse 11, and now art thou cursed from the earth, which have opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. So it showed you that Cain, Koyan, his face was hid from the Heavenly Father going back to there. Because why? When he had the opportunity to do the righteous thing, he didn't do the right thing. All right. And this is being shown consistently through history. The best example to get would be that of Revelations, the 20th chapter. It tells you that, the dragon will be hid for a moment. All right. Let me quickly go to it because it's quite powerful. Says Revelation 20:1, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. All right. So that spirit, all right, of Cain pertains to what? The devil and Satan. All right. Because what sin, being a sinner pertains to sign of a demonic, satanic spirit. All right. Because the word Satan, the simplest way to put it, the word Satan, Shaitan, means adversary, means you're adverse to what? The righteous spirit. All right. So basically that same serpent spirit is in Cain. And we know through the envy of the devil, sin entered into the world. all right? So even when you deal with the chapter before in the book of Genesis, you have the serpent, all right, who basically beguiled Eve. The difference with Cain and the serpent was, as it was stated in the chapter, it says he was more subtle than any creature. So this is someone that was observant and buying his time until he took his time to strike, and he knew what he sought to do, all right, through the spirit on the left hand side, and basically accomplished that act to set the ball in motion for us to fall from grace in the eyes of the Heavenly Father, to come back around full circle to be gods upon the earth. But anyway, let me carry on reading with this and finish up on it. So this is Genesis 4 and 13. Oh no, let me read verse 12 again. When thou tillest the ground, it was a tiller of the field of the ground, right? It shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. So Esau was turned into what? A fugitive. Cain was turned into a fugitive and a vagabond. A fugitive is someone that's committed a crime and is on the run, all right, in hopes of not being caught for that crime. Verse 13, and Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. That's right. All right. So Cain said unto the Lord, Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. So he said, damn, Yahweh, that's too heavy. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. All right. And the Lord Yahweh said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord Yahweh set a mark upon Cain, being a mark of leprosy, a lack of pigmentation, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out of the presence of the Lord Yahweh and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. So he was expelled out of the garden, all right? And he had to basically be out of the midst of the Heavenly Father, all right? Which ultimately we pertain to that same destiny as well, but more onto what? Righteousness, all right? Because you can see here what happened with Cain. It was a decree that if anyone basically touched Cain, they would basically bear a greater punishment of sevenfold what they did upon him. All right. Now, what does it say about the Heavenly Father? It says he's one of these characteristics. It says he chastens those who he loves. So obviously he don't love Cain, just like he don't love Esau. All right. In fact, he hates him, but that's why he gave him free reign. All right. It was basically more to rack up more sins upon him. And when you read on into this chapter, I believe it actually tells you that one of his sons did another act and said, surely if it pertains unto Cain sevenfold, then it must be 7 times 70-fold unto me. Something to that effect. All right. Showing you that the Lord just allowed him to rack up sins only to be washed away in that flood. All right. Whereas he chastised us in measure. All right. But the point being, there's a definitive line between good and evil. And you can see that with that example. All right. Because the evil that Cain did was a necessary evil. But what did it pertain to? Death. All right. Even though the righteous die, even though Abel died, ultimately it wasn't done in vain. All right. So I want to finish up on this. Because why? When he went down, it was counted onto righteousness. Right? So this is the book of Joshua 24 and 14. Now therefore fear the Lord Yahweh, serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood, and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord Yahweh. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord Yahweh, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your fathers served, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord Yahweh. And that should be your choice. Hold on to life that you may live. All right. So with that, I pray you are edified. To the next one, say shalom. Shalom.